Hello, everybody. We are here for week two's weekly group coaching training session. And remember, our first week last week, our call happened on Monday at 10:45. That was a one-time only because Thanksgiving was last Thursday. I hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving this week, and from here on out, we will be meeting Thursdays at 10:45. So I know a lot of you are not actually able to join live on Zoom. Denise will be taking this recording and she will be posting it in MyCoach, and she will also be posting it in the Facebook community for you to watch the replay. So as you're watching the replay, no matter where you're watching it, make sure to answer along in the comments when I ask questions. Continue to ask questions if you have something else pop up, whether it's a what if, and, or what about this? Whatever that looks like, drop them in the comments. Also, in those weekly lessons that I've been having you guys read and I've been sending to you right there in the MyCoach app, you'll see at the bottom every once in a while there's a homework thing and it says, send me a question about water, or send me a question that you have this week. Reason being is we all have questions that maybe we don't have it right in that moment, but we've had a question at some point around something. And I want you to send them to me so I can get them answered, because a lot of times we have these questions and we do one of two things. We either forget about it or we go deep dive and do all of the research on our own. And if you're someone who usually forgets about it and still is in that wondering phase, I want to be able to do that research. I want to be able to find the answers for you to take that away. I want to just be able to provide it all. But I'm not just going to provide whatever I think you have a question to. I want to know what your actual questions are. So for today's framework, as people jump on here, we will end up talking about sharing your wins, and we will do insights and takeaways from this call all at the end. So framework for today, just so you know, we are going to move through, and I'm going to try to move through pretty quickly because we do have quite a bit of content. But if we get in conversation about something and we go the whole hour, we go the whole hour. But I do know your time is really valuable, so I am going to try to keep these straight and to the point. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the hydration, overview of the hydration lesson that you read. I believe it was Tuesday, and then you'll have another one on Saturday that pops up. I'm just going to kind of go over some of the key points that I would like to point out in those lessons, because in there it's a quick read, got a lot of information. I'm going to point out my key points that I want to share. After that, I'm going to go over all of the community questions. We had about 3 hydration questions, we had 2 macro questions, and we have a protein question to go over, and a bunch of tools. Reminder, any of the websites that I show here or the worksheets that I talk about, those will be added to your resources. So after this call, I've actually preloaded them in there. If you go to the resources tab, if you open your app, go to the bottom right-hand corner where it says me, click on that, click on resources, and then click on the Commit to Your Health program. In there, you will see multiple different things that I've added just this morning. So you have them all in one spot. I used to post them in multiple different ways. Now I'm just pointing you to that resources tab and putting them all in one spot so you can always go back and access. So as we get into this today, like I mentioned, we'll go over wins and insights at the end. So as you guys jump on, or as you want to share something as you're watching the replay, whatever it is, I will be asking all those questions at the end. So we're going to do the overview of, a couple days ago, you had a lesson on benefits of hydration, and I gave you 10 benefits. Well, honestly, these are all fantastic, but I'm going to point out the 2 that I think really help and the ones that I notice the most. And that first one is regulate my body temperature. So I notice that when I am behind on my water midday, my cheeks get really flushed and my toes get really cold and my hands get really cold, but my face is hot and my body's hot. If I struggle with regulating my body temperature if I am not up on my water. So if you tend to have some of those feelings, making sure that we are getting that water goal in, which is one of your daily actions, is super, super important. So I know that is one of the big ones that I feel, especially here in the winter, and essentially really all year round, but in this colder transition, I see that the most. And another one that I really see a difference is in helping maintain my healthy skin. So I notice that when my water is not as great and I'm eating a little bit more crummy, what happens is I start to break out a little bit more. My skin looks a little bit dry. I feel like I'm having to apply moisturizer a little bit more often. So making sure that we're continuing to drink our water and stay on top of that is going to help maintain not just our healthy face skin, but also our overall skin. as we get into the colder months, it is drier anyway. So the more hydration we can add to our body, the better. And Michelle, I did see you jump on here. We're going to do wins, insights, takeaways here at the end. So right now we're just kind of doing an overview of the lessons for this week, and then we're going to dive into some questions and answers. One of the other things that I do find is really helpful, and I know a lot of you are here for weight loss or weight maintenance, is as we stay hydrated, I don't like to say that it fills your belly so you don't feel full, but staying hydrated and staying on top of your water helps you actually determine if you're hungry or if you're bored. Because there's a lot of times when I'll be like, oh, I'm so hungry, and I'll have some water and I'll actually be like, I was actually just bored doing what I was doing. So having water there, that is a good reminder to stay hydrated. It's going to help reduce your appetite a little because your belly is filling with water. It's not, you don't want to use it as essentially an appetite suppressant, but at the same time, we want to make sure we are staying hydrated. And when we do fill our body with fruits, vegetables, protein, and water, we end up filling our belly with whole foods and things that it likes, which then means we consume less calories. So if you have any questions, or if you had any questions and you didn't send them to me beforehand on the benefits of hydration, drop them in the comments, drop them in the chat. If you're watching the replay, drop them in whatever comments, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, and let me know, and I will get those answered. So the next lesson that you guys are going to be seeing on Saturday is tips to getting your ounces in. And I'm not going to go over the whole thing because then you don't have to read the lesson, but I am going to point out a few things that I use to help make sure that I do get my water in. Because as I mentioned last week in a kickoff call, some of you, water is probably the most challenging action that you are working on, because you are either sitting at your desk the whole time or you're always on the go, and it's hard to remember to drink. So one of the things that has helped me the most is making sure that I have a water bottle that I can refill, but not just a water bottle that I can refill, but one that I can either drink out of a straw or I can turn and I can actually drink out of it. So having multiple different ways to consume it out of one bottle. That has been the biggest help for me. The second biggest help for me has been making sure that my water bottle is not tiny, where I have to go fill it a bunch of times throughout the day. I have a 40 ounce. This is not a Stanley. This is a knockoff from Five Below. So if you are interested in the Stanleys, but you don't want to spend the money, go to Five Below. I think it was like 601 or something, with taxes or whatever. But I only have to fill this up twice to get 80 ounces, which means when I fill it up that third time, I only have to drink technically 10 ounces to hit that 90. So those are my two biggest tips that I can share when it comes to water hydration and making sure you get your ounces in. The last little thing that's not going to be on that lesson on Saturday is going to be, I have always talked to people, if you are someone who you're just like, I just keep forgetting, set timers on your phone at the top of each hour, at every half hour, whatever that has to be. And when that timer goes off, oh, I drink some water. Timer goes off, drink some water. Timer goes off, drink your water. Things like that are just cues, sticky notes all over your desktop, things like that. The more visual cues you can remind yourself of, sound, visual, the more likely you are to actually complete it. So, any questions on benefits of hydration or tips to get your ounces in? Like I said, the tips to get your ounces in lesson will be on Saturday, so you'll get a full deep dive into that. I just wanted to touch on a few things because today we are really talking about hydration as that main portion and going over that. So if you have any questions, if you are here on Zoom, I will know that you have a question by just unmuting. I will watch for that unmute button. And if you don't, we will move on to the Q&A questions that people have submitted. Awesome. Okay, so because today's main topic is water and hydration, I'm going to start with those Q&A questions because I thought those were some really good ones, and we'll keep in the hydration. After that, we'll move into some macro conversation. I've had a few of you reach out about macro conversations, how to count macros, what does that look like, how much should I be having, all of that. So we're going to go into a conversation on that, and then a little bit on protein, because protein is one of our other actions. And I've talked to a few of you about different struggles or challenges you're running into when it comes to getting that protein in. So I'm going to make sure we touch on all of that. So number one question that I had when it comes to for water and hydration is it better to drink more water at certain times of the day or to simply keep the steady stream going? So if you are able to keep the steady stream going, it is going to be better. Reason being, it's really not great to sit there and like chug a bunch of water, especially if you're doing it right before bedtime to hit your water goal. Reason being is essentially we just feel really full, our body doesn't really retain it, and then we just pee it out. Where the most ideal way to drink your water is have a few sips every couple minutes throughout the day. That's going to allow you to not feel overly full. You're still going to get your hydration in. Your body's going to actually be able to retain it rather than just peeing it out. So, really, we want to make sure that if we can keep a steady stream, even if it's just the top of each hour or every half hour, it doesn't have to be every few minutes. But if we can create some sort of steady stream in that day rather than, oh, it's morning, I'm going to drink my first 30 ounces. Okay, it's noon. I'm gonna drink my second 30 ounces. It's dinner. I'm gonna drink my third 30 ounces. That is the more steady stream is gonna be more beneficial for you and we're actually retaining and actually staying hydrated. The other thing on hydration is if anybody has super chapped lips and you notice they get worse, making sure we stay on top of that will help with those chapped lips. We can't always protect against the wind and the cold, but that also helps. If you notice you have some drier lips, hydration, staying hydrated and hitting your water goal helps with that. Second hydration question I got is it true that drinking certain things in the morning is beneficial, such as a full glass of water, lemon water, or no coffee on an empty stomach? Yes, there are benefits. And I'm going to break this down into the full glass of water and lemon water. So, drinking a full glass of water first thing in the morning is going to flush out the stomach, therefore, is going to help balance the lymphatic system. And a stable lymphatic system will help build a strong immune system, which is going to prevent us from getting sick more often. And if you are someone who has little ones in the house, who is around other little ones throughout the day, you are around germs all of the time. And even if you don't have little ones, you are out in public and you are around germs all the time. So the more we can do to boost our immune system and help keep our body nice and strong, the less likely we are to get sick, or when that sickness hits, we're not going to be drained or it's not going to hit as hard. So drinking water is going to help prevent rehydrating, and that cup of water in the morning is going to help prevent dehydration later in the day. It's going to help flush out the toxins from the digestive system, which is going to help you absorb more nutrients. This can also help you feel fuller, longer, kind of what we talked about earlier. It's going to improve our metabolism by staying hydrated. It's going to help your body burn more calories faster. And then the strengthening of your immune system, exactly what we just talked about. So really making sure that if you are a coffee drinker, I have gotten in the habit of before I have my coffee in the morning, I fill my coffee cup with water, I drink it, and then I fill my coffee cup with water. It's also not great to drink coffee on an empty stomach because the acidity in the coffee and then the acidity in our stomachs mixing can cause us to have an upset stomach, and things like that. So really making sure that we eat or we put something in our coffee so there is some sort of substance and calories going in is going to just help be a little bit easier on that stomach, especially if you're prone to some acid reflux and things like that. Coffee on an empty stomach is really not great. Any questions on that glass of water right away when you wake up in the morning, or even the steady stream versus certain times of the day? Awesome. Okay, so lemon water. Lemon water is another one that has great benefits so essentially what I do is when you guys submit these questions, I do some research. I've got my general knowledge, but I then deep dive into a little bit more because you guys don't want to do the research. If you did, you wouldn't be asking me the question. So, one of the nice things about the lemon water, it's got vitamin C, which is going to help detoxify the blood and boost the immune system, which can also help prevent colds. Citric acid can also help prevent kidney stones by making urine less acidic. So, some of these things are not, I've always seen lemon water as, oh, it's going to help you lose weight. And that is one of the benefits, is what they say. Um, I can never actually find a reason on why that creates the weight loss that people say it does. But really just thinking about I like lemon water in the morning because it's that little bit of flavor. I like it warm with some honey if you've got a sore throat, things like that. Really, it's just thinking about kind of detoxifying your body, releasing some of those toxins out is kind of the biggest benefit out of it. It's going to aid in digestion, reduce inflammation, cleanse your system. And it's also been shown to help keep your skin blemish free. So if you are someone who struggles with a little bit of acne or some of your random pop-ups, maybe the lemon water in the morning as that glass of water would be a good fit. Great question we have in the chat here. How much lemon makes it lemon water? Honestly, if you've got like a normal coffee cup size and you squeeze half a lemon in it, that's plenty. It doesn't need to be this like, because we don't want it like tart. It just needs to be this mild. And I like it warm. I think it tastes better. But yeah, coffee cup size, half a lemon is perfect. And you could technically save the other half of the lemon for later in the week or for the next day. So any other questions on lemon water? Remember, as you're watching the replay, if you have them, drop them in the comments. I will continue to follow up and answer all of the questions that pop up. So we've got just two more things here. We're going to move on to macros and protein. And we're going to talk about macros first. Reason being is I've got two people who asked the questions. And the questions were, how many macros should I be eating? And what macros are needed daily for women my age working out 4 to 5 times a week to build lean muscle? And is tracking macros a good way to lose weight? Really, you can lose weight if you track calories, you can track macros, you can track all the things, and you can lose weight. One of the things that I'm not a huge fan of when it comes to macro tracking is you kind of have to be very specific. You have to measure your food. We have to make sure that we are being precise. We are tracking it in a food tracker. And for a short period of time, that may be super realistic and sustainable. So it may be a great spot for you to start. If it's something you're interested, I always encourage people to try out. And if it works for you, awesome. If it doesn't work for you, just don't get hung up on it, because when we have to fully track things all of the time, especially when it comes to food, and we track that little bite, it becomes unsustainable. Some people are super successful, some people just get frustrated. So Precision Nutrition is a certification that people can take to become nutrition certified. And I actually was doing some research, and there's a ton of different calculators out there to help you decide your macros. And I really was not a fan of all the ones that I'd been coming across. And I stumbled across Precision Nutrition's calculator. So if you are interested in macros, in your resources tab inside the app, you're going to see a link and it says Precision Nutrition Macro Calculator. You click on that. I'm going to show you what that looks like, and I'll drop the link in the comments here too, for those of you who are on Zoom, in case you want to pull it up on your computer. I can find my little chat button. Essentially, what this does, I'm going to show you exactly what the step is, but you put in who you are, how much you work out, all the things, and it actually gives you a full guide. And I did this earlier, so I'll show you kind of how you go through it, and then I'll show you what the guide looks like. You do have to give your email, but really that's how they get you on their email list. So let's open this up, and I'm going to share my screen here so you can see what it looks like and all of that. Share screen. Perfect. So like I mentioned, Precision Nutrition, it is a nutrition certification. It is technically something that anybody could take. There's a big test, there's lots of studying, all of that involved. I have done a ton of my research, and I've done a lot of reading on articles from here. So I fully trust them, and I've worked for gyms who have their coaches Precision Nutrition certified. So I find it a very reliable, and that's where some of the other calculators I don't find as reliable, because anybody can create something with stuff on the back end. So you'll come here and you'll click Get Started. And when you click Get Started, what it will do is this pop-up will come. And I would do it for, let's say I was doing it for a client, or we'll do it for myself just so you guys can see. So I'd put in 28, I put in that, 5'6", and you'll just walk your way through, and then you get to pick. So one of the cool things is other calculators you find, all it gives you is lose weight, build muscle, athletic performance, whereas these actually give you a little bit more detail of, oh, I want to do this. I want to lose less than. Okay, so let's click this one. Next. Do I have any eating? Because what they do at the end is they actually give you a guideline. So even if you don't plan to track macros, I highly recommend going through this, because the guide that I'm going to show you has some really awesome visuals and just gives you some different ideas. If I go anything, next, and what it's going to do you want to use any standardization macro ratios, I'm just going to use standard. I find that's the easiest. How many meals do you like per day? 3. Right here again. A lot of times what gets us in trouble when we choose to track calories or macros is we either overestimate or we underestimate our activity level. So I really like how this one right here says sitting at a desk job most of the day. Sitting, because this is just your current activity level. Then we'll ask you exercise. But let's say light. We'll go next. And then here, it breaks it up so that you're not just trying to generalize, well, I work out this much versus this. Like, no, I really like how this breaks it down. Just put it there. Great. So what it's going to tell me is these are the macro percentages and that this is how many calories. It kind of gives me a breakdown of I should be having 5 palm-sized servings of protein. So see, they do the same visual that I really enjoy, and that's one of the things I really like about them. Fistfuls, cups, thumb, things like that. So you could just go here and not ever put your email list in and just your email and just get the information. If you do like the information though, let me open this up. Where are my downloads? And I'll show you what mine actually looked like. So they create this full guide for you. It's 18 pages. And like I said, I'm not someone who is going to put in my macros, but I also enjoyed seeing here that when I went down, what they recommend for visuals, so I don't actually have to count if I don't want to. And they do a really good job of making it visual so you don't actually have to track if you don't want to. They've got step-by-steps in here. You go through how to make sure you're hitting your goals. They have a ton of education. So if macros is something you are really actually interested in learning about or taking on, you and I can also sit down and have a deeper conversation based on your diet specifically. But you can also sit here and get a better generalization, all the information specific to you, your body type, your activity level, your age, all of that. So for those of you who did ask, I highly recommend using this calculator. Like you saw, it took me, what, 3-4 minutes, 2 minutes to go through. It's got its own tracking sheet. And then if you scroll down, it's got some protein ideas for you. It's got some carb ideas. It's got some fat ideas. Eat more of these, some of these, less of this. Like eat the rainbow. It's a really good site and it gives you a lot of information. So if you are interested at all, let me know. If you want to kind of talk through this, if you get your guide and you want to actually talk through it with me, please let me know. I will jump on a one-on-one and you and I can kind of talk through it to see if you've got any questions on it. But highly recommend if you are interested in macros, use that calculator. You can technically go and Google macro calculator, but I did 3 different ones and I got 3 different results. And to me, that shows that the calculators don't really have a consistent because they're not asking the right questions. So any questions on that macro question or the calculator or things like that? Okay. So, final little question that we had here that has come up from, honestly, it's been up from a handful of you, is protein. Is you've noticed that you feel more satisfied when you're eating protein, but you also know it can get expensive where eating carbs and things like that tend to be a little cheaper. And with inflation and the way that prices and groceries are, I totally get it. So some of the things that really help me make sure that I'm hitting my protein and I'm making sure that the list stays low is making sure that I plan my snacks and meals in advance. So I follow a meal prep and planning process, which I run a boot camp in February on. And if people are interested in doing the boot camp beforehand, I'm happy to run it before then. But usually February seems like a time when things have finally started to die down after the holidays. So if you are interested in the boot camp, you can always drop boot camp in the comments, and you and I can kind of talk about that. But planning boot camp is a week long, so it's all self-paced too. So it all takes place in MyCoach, and you have your lesson, you have your homework, you send it to me, I look at it, we give suggestions, we go back and forth. So super quick 7 days. I am thinking of doing an in-person of like a workshop type of day to kind of do it, but haven't quite mapped that 100%. But yeah, so plan your snacks and meals in advance. I create my meals for the whole week. I even pick out my snacks. And how I do that first is by looking at what's in my fridge. Often we are just creating and we end up with a bunch of stuff in that freezer, in that fridge, in that cabinet and that just kind of sits there a while because there's stuff we're not super excited about. but it's also because we just see it as the can of chickpeas. We don't see it as what it could be. And sometimes creating those meals, creating those ideas is really just exhausting with everything else happening. So in that meal prep and planning boot camp, we help create different ideas. And we first look at the foods you like. And one of the other things is when you think about your protein, we probably have 3 or 4 proteins that we just think of right away. For me, it's eggs, yogurt, cottage cheese, chicken. Those are like the 4 that are like come to mind right away. But I know there's a ton else out there. So in your resources tabs, you will see a file that will say foods that I like worksheet. And in that worksheet, what it is it's a worksheet that has protein, carbs, fat, fruits, vegetables, and other. And really, it's nice to do as a family, especially if you have other people that you're trying to feed in the house, because we don't want to have to be making multiple meals multiple times. That's a pain in the butt, and we don't want to have to be doing that because it's more groceries, more food. So filling out that sheet first with yourself, especially because you are starting here, you're starting with yourself and thinking of what are all the proteins I like. This worksheet only has about 10 lines per category. So feel free to open up a piece of paper or open up a notebook and write down all the proteins you like. That's also going to create some different ideas for you because we get so stuck in eating the same thing all the time. And sometimes steak. So let's say steak is my favorite protein. Steak is not always the cheapest option, but we have other types of proteins we enjoy that are at a cheaper option. So I really like to plan my meals and snacks in advance, plan from what's actually at my house, and then only go and purchase what I need. And then also doing that list of the foods that I like worksheet so that I know that I can create some rotation so I don't get bored. Because when we get bored, what that means is we eat crappy stuff or we end up going out and getting something because we're bored with the stuff at the house. So some other things that I find as my really nice, easy go-tos that I always keep as staples on the house are protein powder. Because if there is nothing else in the house, I can always make a smoothie. I can throw a frozen banana, which when my bananas go brown, I peel them and I throw them in the freezer. I'll throw a banana, I'll throw protein powder, I'll throw a little bit of peanut butter, and I'll throw ice and some water, and I'll throw that in there. And that's a high protein snack or meal, depending on what life looks like. And because quantity, you can usually get a pretty big bag for like 25 bucks. And if you're not eating it or drinking it on a consistent basis, that's a way to make sure you got a little bit extra for a better price point. You can also add it to plain Greek yogurt to increase that protein in there. One of my favorite things is plain Greek yogurt, tablespoon of, I prefer crunchy. You can use creamy peanut butter. Stir it all together. It makes a peanut butter mousse. And if you're someone who likes peanut butter with like apples or celery, mix it with the Greek yogurt, increases that protein intake. You will feel fuller. You won't feel like you need a little bit extra. And use that as your dipping mousse. It's delicious. I also like to sprinkle frozen apples in it when my apples are getting ready to go bad. I will cut up the apples, throw them in the freezer, and then break them up and throw them in that. So thinking through chickpeas, I always have canned chickpeas in because I just never know. I can always dry them off. I can pop them in the air fryer and I can make them crunchy. I can eat them right out of the can. I can put them in a wrap as a protein substitute. Can of chickpeas, I think at Aldi are like 75 cents, something like that. Either canned tuna, Aldi, 85 cents, or the bagged, which I believe is like $1. Having canned tuna or bags of tuna, the little rip-off packets, are really nice for on the go. They're quick, they're convenient. You can make a tuna salad, you could throw them in anything, just different options. Canned chicken's another great one. I think it's like $3.50 at Aldi. I'm an Aldi shopper. For those of you who don't know this about me, I rave about Aldi. Aldi is my favorite place. Um, so I also find that a lot of my budgeting happens better when I go to Aldi. I only go to Meijer when I need something that Aldi doesn't supply. So I've started to, in the beginning, it was hard. I was going to two grocery stores because I didn't understand Aldi, what they had at certain times, what they didn't have. Now that I've been doing it for probably about 4 years now, I want Aldi's the only place I go unless there's absolutely something that I'm looking to make. That also means a lot of my meals tend to be a little bit more basic because their supplies at Aldi is a little bit more basic. That also keeps that cost down because you can flavor your food with seasons and spices. Um, so canned chicken, eggs. Eggs are really nice. You can make them hard boiled. You can make those mini quiches that are in your master recipe book. You can fried, scrambled. You can make a quesadilla, a breakfast quesadilla out of them. There's a variety of things you can do with eggs. Cottage cheese is another great one. What I do in the morning is I'll do my favorite breakfast is sourdough bread, a little bit of goat cheese, 2 eggs, and then like a fourth cup of cottage cheese. Right there, it takes my protein intake from 12 grams to about 28 grams, depending on the quantity of cottage cheese that I put on the plate. I also feel fuller longer and I have more energy. Plain Greek yogurt, another great one to have on hand because you can use it for just about everything. I will marinate my chicken breasts in it. I will use it in buffalo chicken dip, things like that. The other thing that is really good is if you, whatever grocery store you go to, really watching their sales and making your meals based on the sales that are happening that week. For instance, I walked into Aldi with the anticipation of buying beef. Beef wasn't on sale this past week, but chicken was, and so was their little pre-made or pre-marinated turkey breasts. They were each $1 off, and I was like, for that, I would rather buy at that discounted to save on that grocery bill and wait for beef to go on sale the following week because it all kind of cycles through. So, for someone who is really trying to watch that grocery budget, because it does get expensive, especially when we are trying to eat more, making sure that we are getting some of those things, watching some of those sales, it does take a little bit more time. But if you put it into your meal prep and planning time, it really helps in the long run. And being as detailed as you can with that grocery list is even better when somebody else is doing the grocery shopping. The other thing to think about is remember seafood counts as protein. There is sausages, there is like even mini yogurts. There is a ton of stuff out there that counts as protein. And inside your resources, you have a full Google Doc that, or not Google Doc, Google folder in there. If you click on that resources, there's a full thing of proteins with a bunch of different worksheets with different protein ideas, just to kind of get you out of eating the same things. One of my other favorites is it's actually from Costco. You buy a big frozen bag, and inside the frozen bag is a bunch of mini bags that you pop in the microwave, and it's edamame. So, yes, that big bag, but then if you break down the price for those little, it's a really great way to get more protein into your diet that way. So, on that note, any questions, Michelle? Any questions in the comments on protein, macros, water? How you feeling about all that? Yeah.
Dairy's just been stressing me out, with Lizzie being sensitive to that when I do eat it. Um, but just a like little side note, and I don't know if you knew this, but like just letting people know that Greek yogurt, I just Googled it because I'm like, I need to get some calcium back in my diet anyway. But I guess it says that like Greek yogurt is actually it doesn't have as much lactose in it, I guess. Because I was sitting here listening to like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, and I'm like, love them, but hate them. So I was trying to figure out like, alternatives to those.
I love that. And Tara had mentioned that one of her things, and I'm looking it up right now, it's called farmer's cheese. So I'm gonna drop it right here. I don't know where this link is actually. It's like an Instacart, but farmer's cheese is I don't really know what it's made out of, but it's kind of like a cottage cheese texture and stuff. So looking at some of those alternatives, I've heard great things about that. Tara really likes it. She's also in this community. So great point on that. And there is also, oh, what is it? Is it goat yogurt? Because anything, yeah.
That didn't even
I'm
occur to
doing
me 'cause I do love goat cheese. Didn't even occur to me that like that's not from a cow. So, obviously, it's at least different, if not like totally better. So, yeah, that didn't even occur to me.
exactly. And I just sent you a link for goat milk yogurt. I worked with someone a while back and they couldn't have lactose in general. So I probably have a sheet somewhere that I've created of protein of non-lactose stuff. I will mark that on my list to kind of look for and get that added to the resources tab because I know you're not the only one who struggles with a little lactose sensitivity or you're just trying to reduce that a little bit. So yeah, thinking through some of that I love that you brought that up because I am someone who doesn't. I love it all. So I sometimes forget to look outside because I don't purchase it. So I love when people bring that up. Great question or comment. Um, Anything else you have to add on that?
No, this is really helpful though. But yeah, like literally just just mentioning goat milk like that right there was a game changer. So thank you.
You are welcome. So, what we're going to do is, Michelle, I would love to know what your win from this past week was, and then what your biggest takeaway from today was. And for those of you who are watching the replay, I want to know your win from this past week in the comments, and then what your biggest takeaway from today's training was. It doesn't have to be water and hydration related, even though that was our main topic, because we did cover a lot more. So, once I get those from you, we will jump on off, and you guys can go about the rest of your day.
I guess like my win from last week, um, I mean, I'm already pretty restricted with what I could eat with Thanksgiving, but not overdoing it with like the desserts and stuff. Um, but it's been nice. Like my biggest win is probably just making sure that I am checking in every week. Like maybe I'm definitely not hitting, every goal every day, but knowing interesting, like I have like a 32-ounce cup and it goes with me everywhere. And if I don't have it in the car with me, it's like worse than if I don't have my phone. And like that has been really big. And so knowing that I can at least check off that water every day. And last week I did really good with the vegetables, which I know we talked about like that was a really big struggle for me. So yeah, checking in every day and being able to at least get the water. And I think I got like 6 out of the 7 days with the vegetables, which I'm really excited about. So biggest takeaway from the training today was just like dairy alternatives without feeling like I have to go to like soy. So,
Yeah, and I will say I love the wins. I love the dairy alternatives. I do for females, soy does interact with our hormones, so we do need to be careful. But if I do tofu once every couple weeks, I buy like a block of it because that's a low cost protein, and I just kind of fry it in a pan and because it will take on whatever flavors you decide to cook with. So if you season it in salt and pepper and garlic salt, or garlic powder, it's going to taste more like that. If you let it soak in soy sauce, if you let it soak in something that marinade, it kind of takes on because it's pretty bland on its own. So that's another alternative that I was just thinking of. But we do need to watch our soy intake because it does mess with our hormones a little bit. And as you are trying to get back to normal hormones after having Lizzie, we don't want to be messing with them any more than we need to.
yeah, exactly. I was just thinking, I was like, I don't need any help with crazy hormones.
Um, well, awesome. Michelle, I love your wins, and you are not the only one that is not hitting all the things. Remember, my intention is not that you have green every single day for these 7 weeks. My goal is that you hit at least one of those things every day, and that you are fully intentional every day about, oh, am I even thinking about vegetables? Because there's a lot of us who don't usually think about vegetables, you don't think about protein, and when we want to make changes to our diet, we just have to start thinking about it. And maybe you're hitting one vegetable instead of two. That is still a win, even if you don't get to check it off and make it green. Maybe you're having protein at one meal instead of three. Whatever that looks like, those little pieces right there are huge and they will lead to sustainable, maintainable changes in your nutrition, in your exercise. And I had somebody mention to me, they're like, I always forget that I don't have to get all sweaty and I don't have to work out for an hour. I just have 30 minutes and it can look different every single day. It can. It can look completely different every single day. You get to choose what that intentional movement looks like. One last thing, because Michelle and I did talk on this yesterday. She'd asked, she was looking for a reliable yoga person to follow. Yoga with Adriene. I have heard phenomenal things about her. She's on YouTube. She's completely free. She's got some stuff that's like 5 minutes in length. She's got some stuff that's 20 minutes in length. So you can always do like 10 minutes of a treadmill, 5 minutes of yoga, 10 minutes of treadmill. You can switch it up as long as that 30 minutes is consecutive. I don't really, what's happening in there is totally up to you. And I have added the Yoga with Adriene link into that resources tab as well, just so you're not having to scroll through messages on that. So on that, like I said, I have a dairy alternative list somewhere. I'm going to find that. Once I find it, I will get it into that resources tab. So just continue to look in there. Anything I find that I think you guys would benefit from, or that we talk about on these calls, or that I post in the group, I will add to that just so you have it all in one spot so you're not trying to scroll to try to find things. So, any la any last thing, any last minute thing from you, Michelle, before we jump off?
No, I just wanted to show Lizzie, say hello.
Hi, honey. Oh my goodness. Look at her
She was listening the
cheeks.
whole time. I know, they don't stop.
Oh, I love it. Oh, she's like, Mommy, I'm waking up. What are you doing to me?
Actually, I think she might be falling back asleep. She's like, I don't get it. But yeah, no, we both really appreciate this program and like I'm really grateful to, that you just reached out and oh yeah, sleepy. That you reached out and just said, "Hey, like what do you think?" Because literally the timing couldn't have been more perfect and I'm just really grateful for everything that you provided.
Awesome. Well, keep the questions coming. As always, if you guys have anything specific that you want to talk about, we can always jump on a quick call. We'll go back and forth a message or whatever is easiest. So thank you for sharing her. She is so cute. Um,
No problem.
and thank you for being here. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and I will see you all next Thursday, same time, same place. See ya.